In the dead of winter, 1942, the North Atlantic was more than just cold. It was a weapon. Allied convoys, vital arteries of the war, pushed through black, icy waves. Below them, German U-boats hunted in the dark. When a torpedo found its mark, the explosion was catastrophic, ripping ships apart and flinging men into water so cold it could stop a heart in minutes. Those who scrambled onto lifeboats weren't safe. They were castaways in an ocean of death, with nothing but meager rations, biting wind, and freezing salt water. For days they would drift, frostbitten, starving, and hopelessly exposed. And yet, against all odds, some of them found a way to stay warm. This presented naval engineers with an impossible challenge. How do you give men heat when they can't make fire? In a flimsy lifeboat, there was no wood to burn, and an open flame was a death sentence. A single spark could ignite fuel vapors from the wreckage, or, even worse, act as a beacon for enemy submarines, scanning the horizon for any glimmer of light. Still, sailors desperately needed warmth to melt ice for drinking water, to heat their scant rations, and simply to keep their hands from freezing solid. The scientists had a riddle to solve. They needed to design something that could burn without burning. Out of this desperate necessity came one of the most brilliant and overlooked survival inventions of the entire war: the lifeboat stove. It didn't look like much, just a small, round metal canister, no bigger than a coffee mug. But what was inside that simple tin was a revolution. A completely flameless heat source, fueled by chemistry, not combustion. It produced no smoke. It gave off no light. It posed no danger. It was pure, invisible heat. For a man freezing to death at sea, it was nothing short of a miracle. The secret ingredient at the heart of the lifeboat stove was something simple yet ingenious: solidified alcohol. Engineers discovered that by mixing ethanol with a chemical compound called calcium acetate, the liquid transformed into a thick, stable, jelly-like substance. This fuel gel burned cleanly, quietly, and with incredible steadiness, all without producing a visible flame. When you lit it, all you could see was a faint, ghostly blue shimmer. It was a heat so pure it could boil water, yet so stealthy it was invisible in total darkness. Sailors could hold their frozen hands over it and feel its life-giving warmth, but barely see any light at all. The magic was all in the chemistry. As the alcohol gel burned, the ethanol vaporized and oxidized. But because the calcium acetate stabilized the reaction and limited the oxygen flow, it emitted heat without the bright, visible combustion we associate with fire. Instead of a bright, dancing flame, it produced radiant warmth, like an ember glowing deep inside a metal heart. It was science in the service of survival, a silent, life-saving force. The Navy put the stove through its paces in the harshest conditions imaginable. They found that a single canister could reliably heat a tin of rations or melt a block of seawater ice into precious drinkable water. Crucially, it did all this using minimal oxygen, so it wouldn't suffocate the men huddled in a covered lifeboat. It didn't fill their small space with toxic smoke or fumes, and perhaps most importantly, its invisible heat didn't betray their position to enemy patrols scouring the sea. For the men stranded in the freezing hell of the Atlantic, it was hope, packed in a can. Just try to imagine being one of those sailors. The wind is a constant howl. Your clothes are soaked through, stiff and abrasive with salt. Frost is forming on your eyelashes, on your hands. And then, in the center of the rocking lifeboat, someone lights a small can. There's no flame, just a faint shimmer, and a wave of warmth that begins to spread through the bitter cold. Around this tiny, miraculous device, men huddle close, thawing their frozen fingers, warming a can of rations, and watching with relief as ice melts into water. That invisible heat became more than just a tool. It was a symbol of life, a small, stubborn act of defiance against a vast, merciless sea. And the influence of the lifeboat stove didn't end with the war. Its brilliant design inspired generations of survival tools that followed. During the Cold War, the chemical heaters packed with military rations, often called heat tabs, were modeled directly on its concept. Arctic explorers began carrying gel-fueled hand warmers based on the very same formula. Even NASA's early emergency survival kits included chemical heat packs derived from the same basic principle. Wherever humans needed safe, flameless warmth in the most extreme environments, the ghost of the lifeboat stove was there. Incredibly, you can recreate this invisible heat source today using the exact same chemistry that saved lives during World War II. If you carefully mix 100 milliliters of denatured alcohol with 1 teaspoon of calcium acetate and stir it slowly, you'll see it thicken into a stable gel. Store it in a metal tin, and once you ignite it, it will burn quietly and steadily for 15 to 20 minutes. It produces consistent heat with almost no smoke and minimal light, making it perfect for a modern survival kit, emergency preparedness, or even stealth camping. It's a modern echo of a wartime miracle, and its safety is just as relevant today. Unlike gas burners that can flare up or liquid fuels that can spill and spread, this gel burns predictably and controllably. It won't explode or create a dangerous, flowing fire. It can even be used cautiously inside shelters with limited ventilation, though of course, ensuring some fresh air is always vital. The very properties that made it safe for desperate sailors in a cramped, tossing lifeboat still make it one of the most practical and reliable emergency heat sources you can have. But the lifeboat stove is so much more than just a clever gadget from history. It's a powerful symbol. It represents human resilience in the face of impossible conditions. It proves that true innovation isn't always loud, explosive, or flashy. Sometimes survival depends on quiet brilliance, on simple chemistry, clever design, and unwavering hope. The people who invented this weren't thinking about patents or profits. They were thinking about cold, terrified sailors adrift in the dark. And they asked one simple question: how can we give them warmth without giving them away? In the end, they gave them life. Today, most people have never heard of the lifeboat stove. You won't see it in dramatic war movies or displayed in museums next to tanks and fighter planes. But for the men who survived because of it, it was as powerful and as important as any weapon. Its quiet, invisible heat saved countless sailors who would have otherwise frozen to death long before rescue ships could ever find them. And every modern survival stove, every ration heater, and every chemical hand warmer we use today carries a small trace of that forgotten, life-saving invention. The lifeboat stove is a stark reminder that even in the midst of war, invention can be an act of profound mercy. It shows us that human creativity often shines brightest in the darkest, coldest moments. So the next time you light a camp stove or crack open a chemical heater pack on a cold day, remember that invisible blue glow that once kept sailors alive in the endless night. Because that small, silent fire, born from desperation, continues to burn in the heart of every survivor. This was the story of the invisible flame that saved WWII sailors. If you love discovering forgotten ingenuity and stories of real human survival, don't let this history fade away. Subscribe to the channel, share this video, and help us keep these incredible stories alive. Because the most important lessons from the past are the ones that still have the power to warm us today.